we've seen this movie many times, and I feel awful for Travis Etienne. He was poised to be a real weapon in that offense this year. So he is out for the season with that foot sprain that he suffered on Monday night against the New Orleans Saints. James Robinson, undrafted in 2020, have an even bigger role. Although they were using Etienne a lot at receiver, he was going to be a very diverse weapon for that offense this year. And Chris, we know it happens. We say it every year. We know guys are going to get injured. We know that it will affect seasons, that guys will be gone for the year. We just don't know who, when, where, for how long they're going to be out. We know it's going to happen. What does it mean for the Jaguars to not have Etienne for the full rookie season?
I don't know the full capacity. I mean, honestly, you said it. It seemed like they were going to kind of use him as a weapon, running back, slot receiver, kind of Alvin Kamara-ish, but maybe more pass game oriented. What I found a little peculiar, and of course it's going to hurt them. I mean, Etienne's talented. There's no doubt about that. And like you said, his skill set, he can cause some problems because of his versatility there. But they didn't really use him in either first two preseason games. That was one thing I've been I haven't seen him. I was kind of excited for that. I mean, that was it for the Saints game. The week before, in that preseason game against the Browns, there was very little Etienne influence in that game as well. So, I guess what I'm saying is I was still kind of trying to figure out how they were going to use him. And I haven't heard a lot of buzz about him coming out of there. It was a rookie. I know it's a big adjustment, all those type of things. But certainly for a team that's, learning on the fly, he's a big part of the future and all those things. You want the reps and you want the versatility just to help them out on the offensive side of the ball.
And to the extent that the hypothesis/theory that we stumbled over yesterday when trying to understand why there's a quarterback competition in Jacksonville, the possibility that Coach Urban Meyer is protecting or considering the possibility of protecting Trevor Lawrence by allowing Gardner Minshew to play this year and keeping Lawrence out of the fray. The fact that he lost a first-round pick already to a season-ending injury, it has to make Meyer think even more clearly because, number one, you've seen lightning strike. Number two, it's one less talented player who will be available to help Trevor Lawrence move the football down the field.
That's right.
And if he already was hesitant, this makes him more hesitant. It definitely makes him less hesitant. It doesn't. Let me try that again. It definitely doesn't make him less hesitant. And you just have to wonder whether that's the direction this is going to go because that team is bereft of talent. And Chris, you're the theory that you tripped over yesterday, the idea that maybe they just want to keep this guy healthy all year and ready to go next year. Maybe that is what they're thinking about doing.
I would think it's certainly, crossing their brain a little bit, crossing their mind. There we go. And also just, maybe Meyer wants to get a little bit of a formula in offense and get the offense kind of rolling in the offensive line, especially to where they get to the point where maybe it will be week 3 where he just goes, okay, I feel like we're playing better football now and I can trust this group that they're not going to mess up and then hurt my franchise quarterback, which is going to then hurt my career and my football team for the next few years. So I certainly got to think that's a possibility. There's still a lot of time left here. Like we talked about, you got a little more than 2 weeks of football, all those type of things. So, it's going to be about, I think, the comfortability of the offense and where they're at. And then, of course, where Trevor Lawrence is in that to protect himself and all that. The good thing is the Texans week 1 should not be a type of defense that you go, oh, man, that we're outmatched, we're scared, holy cow, we can't block anybody on there. That at least gives them a decent start to try to get their feet underneath them and get rolling for the season.
When you say a word like comfortability, what goes across my brain is this. It's another Simsism, but I'm going to look it up during the break.
I think it's
and
right.
It's going to end up being
right.
an acceptable word. It's just that you have conditioned us to constantly be looking for the next Simsism, that anything that sounds close, we flip to, yes, that's a Simsism. It may not be, but that's on my list of things to check out during the break before we get there. And one more thing about the Jaguars.
Right.
Because we talked yesterday about Taysom Hill's demeanor when number one, Jameis Winston plays lights out. Number two, it's not going nearly as well for Hill. And he started to kind of have the demeanor of a guy who knew he's not going to be the starting quarterback. I've had people tell me that they noticed that Urban Meyer didn't have the greatest sideline demeanor from the standpoint of, have I bitten off more than I can chew? Am I happy with the play calling? I didn't notice it per se, but the idea that maybe he was kind of shaking his head when he would hear what was going through the headset out to the quarterbacks. It bears watching. It bears watching.
I saw a lot of it.
Based on his history of getting kind of burned out because he just holds on too tight. What happened with Nick Saban in Miami? These college coaches come to the NFL, and sometimes they don't quite realize how much more stressful and involved it is. I don't want to understate what it means to be a great college football coach, because that's not easy either. But it's different. It's a different.
That's right.
Kind of stress. It's a different. You have so much less that you can control, but also so many different ways that putting in that extra time and pushing things just the right way may make a difference. And I think that it's going to take a while for Urban Meyer to find his sweet spot.
I'm with you there, Mike, all the way. Where I give him a fighting chance over other, college coaches who have come up and made, the move and all that type of stuff. He's an overseer. That's the greatness of it. He's not trying to implement his offense or his defense or do it. This is not Steve Spurrier or anything like that. It's more Matt Rule. That's where I look at it a little bit, to just go, wait, I know what it takes to win in football, what you need up front, those type of things. Hey, I don't know exactly all the details of these plays, but I think we need to do this, offensive coordinator. This is what we're best at. This is where they're weak. I think that's where Urban Meyer is really good. But you're right, he's going to have to make the adjustment. Again, I think that's where it goes to, you could play a little sloppy at Ohio State and still win by 21 points because your players were better. That crap ain't happening anymore. Your players are not better at Jacksonville, and things are always going to be somewhat equal in the NFL, and it's going to be tough, and you got to find your advantage that way. But, Mike, if you go back and watch the replay of the game, I noticed it a lot during the game. I don't know if he's listening to the call, but he's holding his mic. More times I found him holding his mic, looking at the replay of the play and going we didn't block that guy, and this guy dropped the ball. He just was frustrated with the overall look, and he's going to have to learn to calm his expectations a little bit, or he is going to drive himself crazy.
Yeah, and a comment that was made by the broadcast crew, and I can't remember which member said it, but Urban Meyer lost 9 games in 7 seasons at Ohio State. Yeah. And if he only loses 9 games this year in Jacksonville, that will have been a tremendous season for him. So he's got to get used to that. We talked about it with Kyler Murray coming out of college. He'd lost 3 games in his entire high school and college career combined. You go to the NFL level, if you're not somebody who's accustomed to losing, you're going to get acquainted with it very quickly.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.